Welcome to the All the Answers podcast. The last episode, Heather tried to get through a bunch of questions that have came through my social media. By the way, hi, I read them all. Ryan from the social media team has compiled them. Heather's got a list. We're going to read off some more of these questions because we're trying to get you guys all the answers. We're going to be talking about sales. We're going to be talking about your career. We're going to be talking about getting more skillful, having more fun, getting more done, making more money. Heather, I think you've got an unlimited amount of questions there. Let's try and tackle as many of them as we can, help as many of you, as we can. Let's jump right into it.
All right. Well, before we get into these questions, I feel like a lot of people just really, just think that you're just some guy on social media, on TikTok or Instagram that just gives helpful advice, and they don't really know what you do or what Easton University is. Can you just explain for everyone what Easton University is?
Yeah, I've heard that a lot too. As we're out and about and we meet people, they're like, "Wow, you are just some guy that's providing dynamite sales advice here on social media." So, hi, if we haven't met before, my name's Matt Easton. I'm the founder of Easton University. It's the most effective sales coaching in the world. Now, when I say sales coaching, I want to make sure that I'm clear. This is not a derivative of, say, like a retail or door-to-door sales coaching. I have worked for Fortune 500 companies. I've been in financial services, software, business services. Easton University is the genesis of my 20, 30 years of W-2 sales career. It is helpful. It's an on-demand learning portal in a Netflix-style library. Literally everything that you are going to face in your sales career is on that learning portal. But where the real magic happens with Easton University is our members. It's $499 a month to be a member. You can start at any time. You can stop at any time. We have no contracts, no commitments. Our members get to do live coaching with me twice a week. So every Tuesday and every Thursday, they can jump on the lives. They can ask me any questions. We can go through any challenges that they're facing. I'm literally there with them every single step of the way as they take their career to that next level and hit their goals. And I think that's why we've got, north of 2,500 video testimonials about how skillful Easton University works and how great it is because you have that learning portal and you have live with me to leave nothing to chance to help you hit your goals.
All right. So jumping right into the first question, what is the dumbest phrase you hear salespeople saying?
There are a lot of dumb phrases out there, and I'm going to skip the really dumb stuff, and we're going to talk more like how I would speak to my members on Easton University that have that monthly membership. One of the dumbest things that we do doesn't seem dumb at all, and it's a question that most all of us that are true professionals in sales ask, but it's not a skillful question, and that question is, do you have any questions? Most of the time we ask that in a follow-up scenario, right? Hey, I'm calling to see if you have any questions on the contract, calling to see if you have any questions from the demo that we did. Here's the problem with asking somebody if they have questions. When you have a skillful sales process, questions are going to get asked organically during your conversation. And when you ask somebody if they have questions, they inherently think in their head, oh, I should have questions. It lowers your credibility as a salesperson because they feel like you're maybe hiding or covering up something. And in a nervous response, you're asking them if they have questions because you're wondering if they saw that piece in your services agreement or contract. Never ever ask anybody if they have questions. Just ask, hey, calling to see if it makes sense to move forward with the agreement so we can get your team from 17 million to 30 million. Always call to see if it makes sense. If you're in a live environment, go for your close. Does it make sense to get this software in place? Does it make sense to have me represent you on selling your home? You never need to ask somebody if they have questions. They will ask questions when they do.
What's the fastest way to get put on a PIP in sales?
Okay, a PIP, for those of you, hopefully you don't know what a PIP is and you've never been on one. If you are on a PIP, I'm going to be honest with you, there's probably a 92% chance that you are not going to get out of it. What is a PIP? It's a performance improvement plan. Okay, this means you've had a difficult conversation with your leadership, with your manager, and they're saying, you got to clean this up, you've got to start delivering, or we're going to have to let you go. Okay, the reason why they do PIPs is human resources doesn't want a wrongful termination suit. The fastest way to get put on a PIP is to do what every other sales rep has ever done. You are constantly selling your manager and your leadership every week on all the stuff that's supposed to come in. You talk about all the great calls you had, all the great meetings, and all these deals that are supposed to close. Unfortunately, most of the time when we don't have a skillful sales process, they don't close. And when you get put on a PIP, you have 30, 60, or 90 days to get a bunch of stuff in, and you focus on kind of squeezing those accounts that you have in your pipeline, trying to get them to close. They're not going to close. Things aren't great for you. So the fastest way to get put on a PIP is to focus on the stuff that you think is going to close and constantly be trying to make yourself look good that you've got a huge pipeline. You need to be focusing on prospecting.
What's the worst part of sales? What do you personally don't like to do?
Okay, I don't want to get myself in trouble because we have a lot of teams on Easton University. We've got a lot of companies that have me work as their sales coach, and I know a lot of them do this, and I get it and I understand it. But the worst part about sales right now is, hi, if you work in sales, we're about to become best friends. Right now in 2026, 45 to 50% of sales reps' times is spent on pointless meetings. It is the worst part of sales. We spend nearly half of our career right now talking about what's going to come in, what's going to close, having to sit on Teams calls, listening to what everybody else is going to close and come in. By the way, none of that stuff ever happens. So the problem right now with sales, the most difficult part of sales, and it's very difficult to navigate, is all the pointless meetings, team calls, and conversations that you have to have that are not client-facing, that are not with prospects, they're not actually doing your job. You're literally having to sell with like one arm behind your back because half of your time is spent in pointless meetings. And unfortunately, I think that number is going to jump to 65, 70% until we eventually get to a point where most of our time is spent just talking about what's going to come in. It's a disaster, and it's very, very difficult for salespeople.
Do pattern interrupts and permission-based openers work on cold calls?
Okay, pattern interrupt permission-based openers. You read that question, you probably don't know what they are.
Not really.
Okay.
There's quotations around.
If you follow sales content on social media, you're going to hear a lot of pattern interrupts and permission-based openers, right? Is now a good time to talk? Is it a bad time to talk?
Okay, I get it.
Would it ruin your day if I told you this was a cold call? Okay, none of that stuff works. Okay, it's silly. You're not going to psych somebody out into having a sales conversation with you. So yeah, pattern interrupts, permission-based openers, it's garbage. Okay, you need to be skillful. You need to be able to get attention in much better ways. Like we do at Easton University, and our course number 2 on the portal, Heather, is cold calling and prospecting. There are no pattern interrupts in there. There's no, is this a bad time to talk? It is very skillful. Hey, there's something going on that every human resources manager is having to deal with, Heather. I wanted to make sure you were aware of it. You have to let them know who you are. You have to let them know how you're connected, and you have to lead with something that is going to hook and bring them in, that is not some clever or jokey pattern-based interrupt or permission is now a bad time to talk. It just doesn't work, guys.
What do you do if a client is lying to you?
Clients lie. Okay, I don't want to say anything bad about our prospects because they pay our bills. They lie to us. They misrepresent themselves all the time. What you do if a client is lying, I'm pretending there's a mirror over there. Look in it, okay? You need to look at yourself. If clients are constantly lying to you, it's your fault. It's because you're bringing things up like, what are you paying right now? What do you not like about this? We're inviting clients to lie to us. What would it take to get your business? They're going to lie to you. You have to be skillful with your communication. You have to figure out what that client's current situation is. what they are trying to get to. You have to be able to monetize that deal. But when you talk about the competition, when you ask questions like, what do I need to do to get your business? You are constantly going to be lied to. Nobody is ever honest about what the price needs to be to get their business, and they're never honest about competitive quotes that they're getting. Those are where the lies come. Avoid talking about the competition. Focus on your client, and you're not going to get lied to.
What do you do if you're burnt out in cold calling, and how do you stay motivated?
I think most people in sales are burnt out on cold calling, and I believe the reason why they are is all of this garbage-based training or no training at all. If you are burnt out on cold calling, I would pause, okay, get some sales coaching. If you don't want to look at eastonuniversity.com, I don't know anybody else that has a system like ours, but find a way where you're able to cold call, where you're getting attention, where you're delivering insights that are helpful to that individual, whether they do business with you or not. You're not having manipulative conversations. You're not trying to drive to a meeting or set an appointment. You're focused on good quality conversations. And if you're not ready for an insight, simply raise your hand and let them know you're out here. You live and breathe this stuff. You're happy to have a conversation with them, whether they do business with you or not. When you change the way that you're cold calling, people are going to be so appreciative of that call, and you're going to build so much trust and have so many great relationships. You are actually going to be excited about cold calling again. But when you follow that traditional base sales coaching or have no process at all, it sucks. You're literally like a door-to-door salesperson with some clever statement or thing to freak them out, and it doesn't work. It burns people out, and as much as you're burnt out, your clients are burnt out even more from hearing that garbage constantly every day.
Can you make money in sales selling a product that you really don't believe in?
Absolutely not. You cannot make money in sales selling a product you don't believe in. You can maybe do it for a couple months, but it's going to catch up to you. You have to believe in your product. Now, am I saying you need to sell a product that you use personally? No. But let's say you're selling business services or HR recruiting. Spend some time with some current clients. Learn how they're using your thing. Okay? Learn what they're happy about. Learn from, we call this on eastonuniversity.com, we call this street knowledge. Get that street knowledge. Don't just listen to your marketing team and your leadership. Have conversations with people that are in the trenches and on the streets using your product or service or solution, and find out how it's changing their life or their business. If you don't understand that and you don't believe that your product, your service, or your solution can help improve their life and get them to where they need to go, you are never, ever going to be successful selling it.
What's the worst quality you can have as a sales rep?
Worst quality as a sales rep, and nobody's going to admit this, but I'm just going to be honest, it's laziness. If you are that type of person that needs to be micromanaged every day, if you're working from home and the TV is on in the background, if you do not have the ability to self-motivate yourself, if you don't have goals that you're working towards, and you're constantly just trying to look busy versus be busy, you are never going to be successful in sales. That quality of trying to look busy versus be busy is going to get you hired. And they're going to love you for the first 60 to 90 days. And right about the 90-day mark, the wheels are going to fall off that bus. They want results. You cannot be lazy. You have to be driven. You have to have a process, and you have to train and get skillful every day, because the world is a brutal place right now. This economy is brutal. And if you're sitting around watching TV at 2 o'clock on a Thursday, you don't belong in sales.
What are 3 ways to piss off your sales manager?
3 ways to piss off your sales manager. There's 400 ways, but I'll just pull 3 right out of the top here. Number 1, complain about stuff. Complain about your territory. Complain about your comp plan. Complain about your competition. Complain about the economy. Okay? Number 2 way to piss off your sales manager, and this is, your sales manager is actually going to love this one for a minute. Okay? And that's fake activity. Booked a really great call, had some awesome conversations, got a lot of stuff in my pipeline that's going to close. Okay? Your sales manager is going to be like, wow, you're amazing. 90 days later, your sales manager is going to be like, you were lying to me the whole time. Okay? And then the Third way to piss off your manager is build your career around pointless meetings, pointless demos, pointless conversations, pointless travel that shows up on the expense report. You need to be purpose-driven. You need to be honest with your manager. You need to be hardworking and forthright, but the stuff that you're doing needs to be actual stuff that's going out there in the marketplace and getting attention and moving deals forward. Unfortunately, I feel bad for most sales managers because most of the people that work for them, all they care about is looking busy and not getting fired in that moment. And the sales managers are not getting any honest information back from their teams.
What are 3 phrases that every sales rep needs to know and use?
3 phrases that every sales rep needs to know and use. Okay, number 1, when you say blank, can you give me a specific example? When you say you hate where you're living at right now, can you give me a specific example? When you say you've had some difficult situations with your current merchant service provider, can you give me a specific example? Anytime a client is telling you something, even if it's exactly what you want to hear and they're saying something that is perfect for your product, your service, your solution, have them give you a specific example. The more they talk, the more you learn, and actually your credibility goes up. Okay, here's another way to elevate your credibility. It's 2 words. My people. Wanted to reach out to you personally, make sure my people got you all the information you needed. Hey, I'm very confident, Heather, in having this discussion today that our team and my people are totally capable of helping you solve this problem. Only a senior, credible person would use the word my people. By the way, if you're like, well, I don't have any people, I'm a junior AE. Hi, my name's Matt Easton. I'm the founder of Easton University. I'm your people. Everybody else commenting on this video is your people. Everybody that works at your company is your people. Last one I'll give you as far as 3 things that will help you is as promised, okay? Show them that you are skillful. Show them that you are detailed oriented. Show them that if they do business with you, you are going to meet your promises. A great way to do that is as promised. Heather, Matt Easton over here at Easton University, as promised, calling to see if it makes sense to get your team access to the learning portal and the live coaching with me so we can take top line revenue from 7 million to 9 million. I'm on my mobile, 720-660-3202. As promised, helps you so much and nobody uses it.
Do good salespeople have psychopathic tendencies?
Ooh, psychopathic tendencies. And I think people that don't work in sales, that's what they think of salespeople, because there's a lot of horrible salespeople out there. I'm just going to be honest. But what are psychopathic tendencies? Okay, lack of empathy, right? You're self-centered. You're a psychopath. You have no empathy. Okay, and I'm going to put an asterisk on that one, by the way, because there is a huge difference between empathy and sympathy. Empathy is understanding someone's situation and circumstance. Sympathy is feeling sorry for themselves. A great salesperson should not have sympathy. You're there to solve a problem. Imagine a doctor that only had sympathy. Oh my God, this is a terrible diagnosis. You're gonna die, right? We have to have empathy, all right? But we can't be sympathetic. We've got to solve this damn problem. Manipulation, that's garbage. I know there's a lot of sales coaching out there that's like psychological manipulation. Doesn't work. Lying never works. If you are a liar, get the hell out of sales. It is going to catch up to you. Superficial charm, okay? I don't want to get myself canceled or get myself in trouble, but just go look at real estate agents' Instagram. There's a lot of superficial charm, right? It's and dare I say, almost like crossing over in the, like, I'm like, what do you do? Are you an exotic dancer or are you a real estate agent? Blaming others. So really great salespeople, like the people on Easton University, they are skillful, they are empathetic, and they are driven with the purpose of solving somebody's problems or helping them achieve a result. Psychopaths do not belong in sales, and we don't have them at Easton University.
What's the mentality you need before you start cold calling?
The number one mentality that you need before you start cold calling is think about the result you want. Most people that start cold calling are like, I just need to book a meeting. I just need to pitch my product. The mentality that you need to have is, I want to get attention. I want to deliver an insight to this individual. Ideally, when I'm cold calling, I want to have a conversation with them that is helpful to them. whether they do business with me or my company or not. Stop trying to do tricks, stop trying to manipulate people, and stop trying to pitch. The main reason of a cold call is never to get a close on that first call. It happens all the time. But this idea of like, I'm going to say something clever and convince somebody to buy from me based on my cool responses is not great. The mentality is I'm going to go out there and get some attention today. I'm going to make sure people know who I am, and I'm going to deliver insights to them that are helpful, whether they do business with me or my company or not. If you do that, you will love cold calling again. People on Easton University love to cold call, and that's why they make so much money.
So tech sales versus cybersecurity, which is better?
Tech and cybersecurity they're both completely blowing up, and they're going to blow up for the foreseeable future. They are both awesome, and they're both terrible. Okay. How are they both terrible? If you have a sales process or lack of sales process where your job is just to tell them what's wrong with them, you're going to lead with an insult. Hey, I noticed your website, you have these breaches, and you could have a PII, personally identifiable information thing, and you guys are going to get sued, or you don't have this tech. It's gross. It's not going to work because people have access to so much information now. People are able to go out there and research their own problems. If you have a sales process where you're able to get attention, you're able to deliver insights, you're able to ask people, how are you dealing with that at your organization? You're able to pivot skillfully and lead, what do you know about us, right? And have solid conversations, whether you're in tech, whether you're in cybersecurity or anything else, you're going to do great. But you have to, in 2026, you have to have a sales process that slows down in the beginning. Otherwise, you are not going to get sales. You're going to start a lot of conversations and have a lot of demos, but none of these deals are going to close.
What's the typical day in the life of an enterprise AE?
AE, account executive, enterprise AE. You're dealing with big businesses. You've got a big territory. You've got big solutions. Oh, I'm going to be honest, typical day in the life. You hop on a Teams meeting, okay? Then you go get some coffee. Then your chat, bing, bing, bing. Then you look at some emails. Then you make 4 calls at best. Then you've got a hard stop because you're using garbage like Calendly and people are just booking 30-minute blocks on your calendar. Most enterprise AEs get 2.5 hours worth of skillful work done in a day, because the rest of the time is spent in inside internal meetings, chatter, and garbage, or meetings with clients that did not need to be a 30-minute Teams call, okay? If you are skillful and you're using a process like Easton University, you are going to, in an 8-hour day, get 7.5 hours worth of work. And that's why people are like, how is it that you claim Easton University people make 3 times more? Well, they're getting 4 times more work in the day done. So it's natural that they're going to produce more. But the day in the life of the typical AE, 45% of the time is spent on internal garbage, and the external stuff is just not skillful, so they're not getting stuff done.
Is sales the only safe job left from the AI takeover?
AI takeover. Is sales the only safe job left? I don't even think sales is safe, okay? Whether you work in sales or you work in, especially if you work in admin, especially if you work in middle management, here's what's not safe from the AI takeover. If you can't clearly articulate how you help that company generate revenue, what problems you solve, what outcomes you achieve, if you're constantly just talking about stuff and on pointless meetings, you are probably going to be looking for a job like the 200,000 other people over the last 3 months. If you can clearly and confidently explain how you can help this organization hit their goals ahead of schedule, whether you're in sales or management, you will always have a job. It just makes financial sense. You can show them how every hour you're there at the company's making exponentially more money in the long term than they're paying you for that hour. So nothing is safe with AI, and everything that is at risk is pointless activities, pointless things, all these constant middle managers and all these sales professionals that aren't following a process. they're all probably going to have to look for work someplace else and change their behavior at that next job.
The first 90 seconds of your interview can determine if you're hired or fired. What do you do?
Most people never do this in the first 90 seconds of their job interview, and this will determine whether or not you're going to get hired or fired. They start with pleasantries. How's your day going? How's your day going? Was it hot enough for you? Was it cold enough for you? We just start with no purpose. In the first 90 seconds of any job interview, any meeting for that matter, I'm very excited, Heather, very excited to be here. I've been thinking about this all morning. I've got some great ideas here. Before we get started on what I wanted to cover, what's the most important thing that we need to accomplish? Nobody asks that in an interview. And you're going to find that when you ask, what's the most important thing that we need to accomplish during our time today, your credibility goes way up. Suddenly they're like, wow, this person gets it. They're respectful of my time. They're clear. They're on point. In the first 90 seconds of any job interview or important meeting in your life, always ask the other party or people, if it's a group call, what's the most important thing we need to accomplish? And you will be right at the top of the stack.
What's your favorite company or product you've ever sold for, besides your own?
Yeah, well, that is,
I mean,
yeah. And here's something that's different about Easton University. There are a lot, and I'm not saying anything bad about other sales coaches. Most of them had one predominant career, okay? And I'm just going to tell you where that career typically was. Car sales or door-to-door, knocking on doors, selling alarm systems or selling roofs. I did not do that. I'm not ever going to claim to be a skillful car salesperson or door-to-door alarm system salesperson. I have sold for Fortune 500 companies. I've done business services. I've done financial services. I've had a 6, a 63, a 7. I have worked for organizations as big as the American Customer Satisfaction Index. I have had, gosh, probably over 25 different, very B2B centric sales jobs. The one that is my favorite, and you stole my answer there, but it really is Easton University, because I've been able to take all of that information that I learned through a career where I was constantly in jobs where you were supposed to make $150,000 to $200,000 at that job. And I was making $600,000, $700,000, million plus. And the cool thing about Easton University is now I can finally get excited about watching other people do the same damn thing. I sent you that text message last night from that guy that jumped on, got his membership to ask one question on the live. Mm-hmm. And he sent a text message and he was like, I think we put it up on the stories. He was like, I can't believe it. It worked. We saved the deal, right? Yeah. And it's like, do I make great money at Easton University? Yes, but there's more important things than money. And when I get a text message from somebody that's literally like, I can buy a car with the commission from this deal that we saved from popping on and grabbing a membership and asking one singular question on the Thursday live, man, that gets me fired up. And I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I love it.
I have so many screenshots of all your text messages.
It's amazing.
What is the difference about okay, sorry. Let me start all over again.
No worries.
I got so caught up in that last question. What's different about corporate America today in 2026 compared to back in the 1996?
I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know. And the difference is all of these internal meetings, all of these, and I saw a word that's going around. I'm probably behind the times on this word, but like AI slop. Like people are getting sick of AI slop. They're getting sick of, fake people, Hi, by the way, I'm real. If you sign up for Easton University, I'm real. Yeah. I was wondering, I was like, do I have a bug on my arm?
No,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm a real person. So if you get a membership to Easton University, it's going to be me working with you live. There's no corporate slop. But the difference between 96 and 26, in the 90s, you had typically one conversation a week with your group if you were remote. If you were in the office, you had one meeting a week, okay? Everybody dialed into that because we didn't have Teams, we didn't have Zoom. You dialed into that call. The call was typically 20 minutes, and you would talk about what you have going on and what's going to close. It was a pointless meeting. But in the 90s, you only had one of those a week. Today, you might have 10 of those in a day. You might not have any time to do any work because you're constantly updating everybody on everything. That's the AI slop of 2026. that slop is going away. So if you have built your career over like doing inner office politics and sounding really good on Zoom calls and Teams calls, and you know all the lingo, like I got a hard stop, I don't have bandwidth for this, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself, because if you are not able to produce, we are going back to the 90s in terms of everybody is going to be fired up, everybody's going to be positive, and everybody's going to start delivering. This idea of you being able to coast at a company, just being part of meetings, it is dying and it's just about extinct, and it will take another 40 years to come back. That's where we're at right now. We're going to go back to the 90s where everybody's actually doing real work.
Why do most SDRs end up quitting and never get promoted to an AE?
Okay, an SDR, solution development representative. So an SDR's job, Heather, and for those of you that don't know, an SDR's job is to do initial outreach to clients and ideally book them to a next level appointment. The reason why they end up quitting and they don't get promoted to AE, that entire job, unless I've coached them at Easton University, the SDR job, it's really about pointless meetings. Like if we were in the NHL, you're literally getting paid to just pass the puck. There's no measurement of, did you pass the puck to the other team? Did you do a soft little biscuit in front of the goal, right? In the real world, we get measured on, did I pass the puck to Nathan McKinnon, who was right there in the blue paint and scored a goal? That's why in the NHL, you get credit for that goal. You get an assist. SDRs don't get assists. SDRs are like, just put as many meetings up. So their whole job is around getting somebody to the minimum level to accept the next meeting. And the problem is when they hand that off to an AE, it's garbage. The account executive has nothing to go off of there. And then when the SDR does get promoted, if they get promoted, they know nothing about sales because they assumed that deal was going to close naturally just because a meeting was scheduled. Getting somebody on a meeting, having a Zoom call, or giving somebody a demo, you are doing nothing to sell your product. SDRs are never trained to learn what's somebody's current situation. Where do they want to go? What's important to them? To monetize that deal. They're telling them the minimum level of information to book an appointment. That's why they end up getting fired, because nobody wants to hear that. And that's why if they do get promoted to AE, they typically don't succeed. And I'm not trying to, hi, if you're an SDR, I'm not trying to say anything bad about you, but it's not you, it's the way that job has been structured. It's not a great structure.
How do you close a hesitant buyer?
Yeah, so there's so much sales training out there that teaches you to be pushy. Come on, you know you want to do this. It's all gross. A hesitant buyer. Okay, what is a hesitant buyer? Typically, it's somebody that needs to think about it. They need to hesitate. By the way, if you've watched sales videos that are like, that means nothing, think of an elephant. Boom, you thought of it. Come on. You are selling a sophisticated product. You are selling something that costs a lot of money. It is okay for people to need to think about it. How you close a hesitant buyer is to not be pushy, to not be manipulative, to understand their current situation, where they want to go, be able to articulate back to them the benefits when they get there, and then be what I call NSO, next step obsessed, right? I need to think about it, totally understand. Heather, how about we do this? I'll put together an email with my understanding of the current situation, the capabilities you need, and next steps, and helping you get credit card processor provider that's going to help you lower those fees and put that additional money into marketing. I'll have that out to you in about 20 minutes. And then what's a good next step for me? Oh, that's perfect. Call me in 3 days. Or, well, I don't know. I'll get back to you. Perfect. Sounds great. I'll call you on the 9th if I haven't heard from you before then. You need to be next step obsessed with a hesitant buyer. You need to be empathetic of the stress that they're under. But you also need to anchor the next step in something that you can control. Stop trying to push people into doing things right now. It just doesn't work. They'll push you away.
What's the worst cold call opener you were ever taught?
They are all so bad, Heather. They're all so, would it ruin your day if I told you this was a cold call? Is now, I would say the worst of them all is the most prevalent. Is now a bad time to talk, right? Because some person that wrote a book, I'm not going to say who.
It's always a bad time.
And here's the thing, let's just break that down, because I'm just going to tell you guys the philosophy behind this, okay? And this comes from people that never sold. So the philosophy is, I'm going to look for no's, because why? Psychologically, people have a proclivity to answer no more than yes. So I'm going to pull a switcheroo on them, and every time they tell me no, I get what I want. Okay, that works really well in theory. It is complete garbage in sales. You are not going to trick somebody into, oh, no. Oh my God, I just spent $19,000. It doesn't work. Here's the other thing with now is now a bad time to talk. You called them. They answered the phone. That is literally like me being in the pool in my swimsuit, you being in the pool in your swimsuit, our hair's wet, we're swimming around, and me swimming up to you and going, is now a bad time to swim? You're already wet. You're already in the pool. Don't ask them if it's a bad time, okay? Just start talking. And then use a process like Easton University to have a skillful conversation, not a manipulative conversation. But these no-based openers, it's silly. It's silly. Yeah, you might get somebody, no, it's not a bad time. But then you have no credibility on the other end of that answer.
How do you create urgency in a sales conversation?
The best way to create urgency in a sales conversation is monetize the deal. What do I mean by monetize the deal? Before you ever talk about your product, your service, your solution, deliver an insight to them. Ask them how they're dealing with it. When they give you an answer, say, when you say you're having trouble with XYZ or ABC, can you give me a specific example? Okay, let them talk. Try and monetize that. Most of the time with the people that are on Easton University, the monetization is actual dollars, right? What is that costing you to not be able to onboard employees? Have you ever lost an employee, right? How many job openings do you have right now? What if you weren't able to hire those people? Are there any projects you would miss? Before I talk about my product or solution or service, I'm going to figure out where they're at in their current situation and where they want to be, and I'm going to monetize it. By the way, it doesn't have to be money. If you're a real estate agent, how do you monetize? What's your biggest reason for moving? Right? Oh my God, I can't work where I'm at right now. When you say you can't work, can you give me a specific example? Right? What's your ideal scene? Monetize that, okay? And when you're able to monetize, then you're going to build the urgency, because why? Now we're talking about the problem the rest of the way through the conversation, or the outcome that they want to achieve. And we've got our arms around the problem or the outcome. And then you can just gracefully pivot and go, what do you know about us? Or what research have you done on us? And then you talk about your product or your service or your solution or yourself. But now you have built-in urgency throughout the conversation because you slowed down in the beginning and you talked about the problem that they're facing or the outcome that they want to achieve.
What's the worst kind of salesperson?
I'm going to get myself in trouble here. For me, it's the Instagram real estate professionals. Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's gross. It's disgusting. If you are spending half of your day putting together a TikTok where you're half dressed, dancing around, that is gross. That is disgusting. Moving is the most stressful life event that somebody can go through. This is also where they're spending more money than anything else. Real estate, you got to get your shit together. Okay? Stop it with trying to be Instagram superstars and start having a skillful sales process and present yourself like a professional, not somebody that could potentially flirt with them when they look at the house. It's gross. It's disgusting. I don't know where it came from, but it needs to stop.
How do you deal with, I'm not interested on a cold call?
If you're hearing I'm not interested, you need to change your entire sales process. You are leading with a pitch. If you lead with an insight, there's something going on that everybody's having to deal with, nobody's talking about it, I just wanted to make sure you were aware of it. If you're leading with one of the many, we have endless ways that you can get attention and deliver a hook in our course number 2 on the Easton University portal, cold calling and prospecting. You're never going to hear I'm not interested. The only thing you're going to hear is I don't have that problem. And then you can deliver a NOS, a net outcome statement. Hey, that is good to hear. I will be here when you need to make sure that you're recruiting top tier talent and you're not losing out on sophisticated programmers to the competition. Fair enough? And now they're like, oh crap, we did lose that guy, Jason. He went over to Nova. That is a beep, boop, 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 boop. Hey, I thought about our conversation. We need to talk again. I'm not interested means you are pitching. You need to slow down the process and talk about a problem and ask that client how they're dealing with it.
What's the biggest lie in sales training right now?
I would say the biggest lie in sales training is you need to overcome objections. And you go through some sales training or you work with some sales coach and they teach you 152 ways to overcome objections. Okay, it's gross, it's disgusting. And by the way, most objections, and by most I mean 90% of the things that are coming out of your client's mouth that you are labeling as an objection, it is not an objection at all. It's a complaint. Okay, people complain. And the higher the price is, the higher the stakes, the more they can get fired if they make a bad decision, the more they're going to complain. We have a whole course on eastonuniversity.com about how to handle or address objections. Stop trying to overcome them. Stop trying to outsmart people. Start being more of a consultant and work with them collaboratively. If you have been taught to overcome objections, if you never call me at Easton University, just do this favor for yourself. Stop it. Stop trying to overcome objections. The other one, and I'm just going to give you a bonus there, is people don't need to think about it. So many coaches are like, you don't need to think about it. Let's overcome need to think about it. You need to be next step obsessed. It is okay for people to want to think about their circumstances and your solution before they make a decision. You need to have a sales process that goes at the speed that they want to go to. If you're forcing people when they say they need to think about it, you were given misinformation, bad sales coaching, or you are a psychopath. Most of us need to think about it when it's an important decision, and that is okay, and you need to realize that.
So, without naming names, what's the craziest drunk work trip story that you can tell us about?
Craziest drunk work trip. And I think there's some followers from this job. It was way a long time ago. They're going to know exactly who I'm talking about. I'm not going to name his last name. His first name was Pat.
Wait, I said no name.
His first name was Pat.
Allegedly.
And R.I.P. Pat if you're not around. I'm assuming Pat's not around because Pat lived a life that you don't live very long. Pat was a very large person, okay? Chris Farley +2. Pat had a voice like Mike Tyson. The craziest work trip experience is we all had a conference in Dallas, Texas to go to. Because this was a conference, you could not smoke. Pat was real into smoking. Pat was a 5-pack a day kind of guy. Pat was also drinking. And when you drink, you want to smoke. Well, Pat stayed up the entire night before drinking. Then he showed up to the event. And I'm like, Pat, you look kind of green. He's like, oh, I'm fine, with his Mike Tyson voice. And I'm like, Pat. He's like, oh, I sure could go for a cigarette. And I'm like, Pat, you can't smoke. He's like, comes back and he's like, I got the cigarette problem figured out. They got these new things. They're called nicotine patches. He's like, I'm wearing 6 of them right now. It's got a monster buzz. Okay, then Pat proceeded to go to the bathroom at the event, and he went to the bar and he drank. Long story short, okay, Pat started to throw up at the conference. Then Pat, he dropped. We all thought Pat was dead. Ambulance had to come. Not great for Pat's career. He had drank so much at the conference. Combine that with 6 nicotine patches and was up drinking the night before. R.I.P. Pat, he survived. I couldn't believe he survived. But he was that person on the elevated gurney with the ambulance leaving the conference. It was sad and kind of funny at the same time.
On a more serious note, the Anthropic CEO says that 50% of entry-level white-collar jobs will be gone. So is sales safe?
I think there's a lot of like, hey, AI is going to take everybody's job. I think a lot of that is hyperbole and overhyped. I do also think, though, about 50% of white-collar jobs may need to go because we've got too many middle managers. We're on too many calls. We're on too many teams. There's too many dashboards right now. Is sales safe? No, nothing is safe. If you don't have a process where you can go out and get attention, where you can deliver ideas. And by the way, I'm not just talking about sales. If you work in management, if you don't have a way to get people's attention, introduce new ideas, be able to monetize this problem and recommend solutions for the problem, your job is not safe. Whether you're a CEO, whether you're in middle management, or whether you are in sales. Skillful communication and sales training applies to everyone. Just because you have a great idea does not mean people are going to understand it, and it certainly doesn't mean that they're going to do it. And we spend too much time talking about ideas and not enough time consulting people and working through them. So yeah, 50% of people, I don't know if that CEO was just looking for a soundbite. I'm not going to be shocked if 50% of the people lose their job. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm not a F around and find out person. I don't want people to get fired. But if you feel like your job's at risk, you need to look in the mirror and go, am I clearly adding value? Am I clearly moving the needle? Or am I just going through the motions to look busy?
So you always made more than doctors and lawyers in your time in corporate sales. How did you do it?
It's exactly what people go through when they get a membership to Easton University. It's the stuff that's in the learning portal. It's the stuff that we cover on the Tuesday, Thursday lives where they're able to ask me questions. You have to be skillful enough to go out into the marketplace and get somebody's attention in a skillful way, okay? You have to be able to deliver an insight that is helpful to them, whether they do business with you or not. You have to be skillful in determining what that individual or that organization's current situation is, where they're trying to go. You have to be skillful in monetizing, if they work with you, how they're going to get to where they need to go ahead of schedule. You have to be skillful to close, and you have to have a sales process that has next step obsessed in it, to where you are constantly following up in a skillful way. If that is the case, you are better than a doctor. Because a doctor can cure one or a few people. If you can save a whole organization, you're literally saving companies that are on the brink of disaster. And that's why sales is so cool. You're literally a doctor. You're able to go out and run labs and find problems and find solutions and make companies and individuals healthy, not in a medical sense, but in all the other stuff, right? And that's why me personally, Matt Easton, I've always made, I'm not saying it to brag, but I've always made more than doctors or lawyers, because like doctors or lawyers, I have a process that diagnoses the problem, prescribes a solution, and gets that person to take action.
Should you go to college if you want to work in sales?
Should you go to college if you work in sales? Yes and no. I mean, I know there's so much viral content that college is garbage, and for the most part, I agree with it. Both of my children will be going, well, one of them already has, and whew, that bill was big, will be going to college. Here's why. I don't think college is going to prepare you for your career at all, but at the same time, we are still in a point in our society where these meaningful jobs, the people want to see that you had to go through the gauntlet that they went through. And it is really difficult, unless you're going to be an entrepreneur, to get into the type of position that you want to get into if everybody else in that position had to get a 4-year degree. Are you going to use anything that you learned in your 4-year degree at your job? Absolutely not. But I do still think it is a solid investment for your personal PR or public relations to have that degree on your resume.
Can sales get you to $300,000 inside of 5 years?
Sales can get you within $300,000 within 1 year if you have a skillful process. Like, let me give you an example. Imagine if you just got your real estate license. I don't know, somebody in the chat, go look this up. What do real estate agents make in their first year? It ain't even close to $300,000. Now imagine if you were a real estate agent and you got your license and you took sales training from Easton University and you reached out to the major employers in your city, in your community, and said, hey, there's something going on that everybody in human resources, every hiring manager, every executive is having to deal with. Nobody's talking about it. I just want to make sure you were aware of it. And then when they called you back, talked about, you can put the best offer, you can put all kind of bonuses in there, you can have the best comp plan, the best benefits. But if that person, and more importantly, their spouse and their family, cannot see themselves living in that community, they're not going to take the job offer. How are you guys dealing with that? And then let them talk. And then say, hey, I am an expert on Fort Worth, Texas. I live and breathe this stuff. I am happy to help you. Anytime you're recruiting a senior executive person, I'm happy to clear my plate. I will drive them around. I will say great things about Fort Worth. I will show them the schools that they want to send their kids to, the sports that they want to get their kids involved to. I will make sure that Fort Worth and you are presented in the best possible light, and I don't care whether they use me as their buyer's agent or not. Just gave you a mini master class on how to make $300,000 your first year in sales. If you have the right sales process and you're not pitching, okay, and you're not waiting around for leads, if you have a sales process that shows you how to look at the marketplace differently, like we teach at Easton University, 300,000 in 5 years is a no factor. I'm talking about 300,000 in your first year, and the sky's the limit from there.
Right now in 2026, interviewing is more difficult than ever. What are 3 tips that you would give someone looking for a new role right now?
Tip number 1, okay? If you are looking for a new role, yes, go to all the usual places, look for job openings. But tip number 2, don't expect you are going to get a job through uploading your resume, okay? It's not going to happen. And if it does happen, it's not going to be something you want. Tip number 3, learn how to sell yourself on a new role. Call leadership, call companies. If nothing else, use right out of our cold calling and prospecting, raise your hand. Hey, I just want to raise my hand, let you know I'm out here. I'm a huge fan of what you guys are doing at Northrop Grumman. Hey, anything you need in terms of, talking about where the marketplace is at, what your sales team is doing, deal me in. I'm super excited about what you guys are doing. I'm happy to bounce ideas off of you, whatever you need. I would love to talk about joining your team. Okay, that might sound cheesy to you listening to this. Hiring managers and senior leadership have never received a call like that. That's what they're looking for. That's what they're looking for before they go to HR. They're looking for somebody that lets them know they're excited, that's raising their hand, that's letting them know, hey, I'm happy to have a conversation with you. That's how you're going to get a job.
How much does a bad economy impact a sales rep?
A bad economy kills an amateur sales rep. A bad economy is a net wash. It doesn't do anything to a skillful, a certified master sales consultant like we teach at Easton University. A good economy is a net wash. Why? In a bad economy, if you have a skillful sales process, is the economy bad and people and organizations have less money? Yes. But the positive of that is people and organizations have less money. So if you can show them how they can improve, you're going to get the deal. Also in a bad economy, why I love bad economies, I've always made the most money in a bad economy, it weeds out all the amateurs. So your competition is going to peel away. They're going to retreat. They're going to lay people off. There's going to be less people reaching out to your clients than ever before. So if I had to pick between a bad economy or a great one, I'd probably pick the bad because I know how to sell. I know how to get attention. I know how to solve problems. I know how to help people improve their situation and help organizations get to where they need to go. And when it's a bad economy, they need people that have been trained on Easton University more than ever before.
What do you say if a lead says that they do not have budget?
The whole budget thing, this goes back to like some other bad sales training. They call it BANT. I think it's budget, authority, need, timeline. That is marketing. Okay. If you are talking about budget or your client proactively brings up budget, you have just done a great job of advertising for your company and marketing for your company. If you slow down and deliver an insight and talk about a problem and monetize the problem, they will find budget. But when you're just talking about your product and what it costs, of course, they're going to say we don't have budget. So if you're hearing we don't have budget, you need to take a really, really hard look at your sales process. And the chances are you are jumping into demos too quick. You're talking about your features. You're talking about your benefits before you ever learn about your client. If you're not going to learn it from me, if you're not going to learn it from Easton University, learn a different sales process. Because I never hear we don't have budget because I talk about the problem. I'm not saying all of my clients buy, but the only clients that are focused on budget are somebody that's already had a conversation internally and now they're just looking at different options. You need to break through that clutter and break through that noise and have better conversations.
How would you get a job today in 2026 in under 90 days?
If I had to get a job in under 90 days, of course, I would do the traditional applications. But again, I would make at least 5 to 10 calls a day if I was employed. If I was not employed, I'd make 100 calls a day, raising my hand. Hey, I just wanted to raise my hand, let you know I'm out here. I'm a huge fan of what you guys are doing. Excellent in sales. Would love to have a conversation, whether you ended up hiring me or not. I'm on my mobile, 720-660-3202. If you're unemployed and you make 100 of those calls, if you could combine that too with maybe a certification like we have at Easton University, I'm a CMSC, you're going to start conversations, and then you can use your Easton University sales process to navigate where that company's at, where they want to be, and close them on hiring you to help them solve that problem. But you have to take matters into your own hands. If you don't have a job, it's not about submitting your resume.
Is sales a good stepping stone towards entrepreneurship?
1000% sales is not a good stepping stone, the best stepping stone for entrepreneurship. What is entrepreneurship? It's owning your own business. What is owning your own business? It's sales. You have to sell people on working with your business. Who else do you have to sell? You have to sell employees on working for your business. Who else do you have to sell? You have to sell vendors on helping your business. Who else do you have to sell? You have to sell banks on loaning money to your business. The higher up in the food chain that you go, or the more compressed your food chain is, meaning you're a solopreneur, you don't have anybody else, 90% of your job is sales. 90% of a CEO's job is sales. Are they selling to clients? No. They're selling their organization on their ideas and moving the needle. Entrepreneurs are selling every day. That's all they're doing.
What is the number one advice that you wish you had after graduating college?
Man, the number one advice that I had after graduating college, I thought for sure, and I was the first person in my family to go to college, I thought when I walked across that stage and got my diploma, the world would look at me different. They didn't. Did having the diploma open some doors for some interviews? Sure. But the piece of advice, if I could go back and tell Matt, as you graduated, I'd be like, good job, champ. But I would also say this, everything you just learned, throw it all away, save one thing. And I think it's the most important thing that you learn in college. And that's how to deal with shitty people. That's how to deal with difficult situations. College is wonderful that. The dorms are great for that. I had the craziest roommate ever. I could tell you stories all day. My roommate was insane, okay? It was the best knowledge I ever received. It was worth millions of dollars to me because I had to live with somebody that we were fundamentally different, we were fundamentally opposed with, and I had to learn how to negotiate and collaborate with somebody because I didn't want to get choked to death in my sleep because my roommate was insane. That's the best thing of college, is learning how to deal with jerk professors, learning how to deal with schedules, learning how to deal with friends, learning how to deal with friends that have friends that don't like you. That learning is invaluable, but all the stuff you learned in like Econ 101 and Global Anthropology 202, it's not going to help you in your career.
What was it like working in sales in 1990s?
Sales in the 90s, it was worse, a lot worse, and it was better, a lot better. How was it a lot worse? I literally, like, if I had to go to a meeting, I had to go to a map store and buy a map, right? Like, I couldn't find my way around. If somebody called me, well, I think it was IP-otics. It was very expensive. My company had this IP-otics thing. I carried around a card where I had to go to a payphone and put in a payphone card to that way my company paid for the call and listened to this message. I had one opportunity to listen to it. I had to write it down. So as far as information in the 90s, it sucked. Okay. Here was the other cool thing about the 90s though. I had one meeting once a week internally about what was going on. I did not have an instant messenger that was constantly blinging. There were no buzzwords back then. There was no bandwidth or hard stops or able to book 30 minutes of my life on a calendar. Okay. So all of the information is great today in terms of our ability to research clients. It's great in terms of our ability to communicate with clients. It's terrible in terms of how much time we're wasting on meaningless meetings, meaningless emails, meaningless stuff that we don't need to do. So, it's a balance. And here's the thing in life, right? You got to play the hand you're dealt. And that's what I love about Easton University is no matter what the situation is, I'm going to show you how to be skillful and deal with the hand you're dealt. If you have to be on 15 different internal Teams calls, I get it. I will work with you and we will still double your sales performance despite, right? You just have to deal with what you have to deal with. But in the 90s, the cool thing was, you know, you only had one conference call a week at best, but you were also lost in the middle of nowhere trying to read a map that was upside down the whole time. I think we got time for one more. Let's hit them with
one more. Okay. So if you're in an interview, how would you answer the question, what potential challenges do you expect in this role?
If I was in an interview and I was asked what potential challenges do I expect, I would say this is a professional role and I'm a professional. The reason why this role exists is everything is going to be a challenge. Nothing is given. Nothing is ever going to work out the way it's supposed to work out. And that's why I'm so excited about taking this role, because I have a process. I'm excited to hit those challenges head on, and my ability to stay calm and unemotional and strategic in the face of adversity and challenges is what's getting me excited about this role, right? Nothing ever works by itself. And if it did, you wouldn't need to hire me. So I look forward to those challenges. That's why you're paying me. And I look forward to being able to make a difference. That's how I'd answer that. I mean, it's the truth. Like, we spend too much time talking about either the fact that we were a victim from a specific problem or challenge, or too much time talking about how I would deal with a specific problem or challenge. And nobody ever talks about that's life today. Life is challenges. That's everything there is in life. And maybe it's because you can go on a food app and have somebody deliver a Dairy Queen Blizzard to your house, which blows my mind why anybody couldn't just get off their ass and buy an ice cream. Everything else in life besides Uber Eats is a challenge. You should look forward to that. That's what makes you special, and that's what makes you valuable to the organization, is your ability to handle challenges. If you want to learn how to handle those challenges in a skillful way, if you want to learn how to get more done, if you want to learn how to sell more, if you want to learn how to really help your company and more importantly, help yourself, please, my name's Matt Easton. I'm the founder of Easton University. Come check us out. There's a portal that's going to help you through every challenge, and then I'm going to be there with you in the moment with those challenges twice a week live to help you navigate those challenges. Please don't be afraid of challenges, guys. That's why you're valuable. That's your purpose in the world. That's how you're going to help your company, is you're going to be the person that's able to overcome those challenges despite the fact that they're there. I love you guys. Please, if you have not already forwarded this episode to somebody, please do it. Please check us out at Easton University. You're my kind of people if you made it this far. You are great. You are amazing. Give us a call at Easton University. I'll call you personally. I love you. I will see you guys on the next episode of All the Answers. Thank you so much for being here with us.